What is up, and welcome to Bruin Bible Episode 9. We have a recurring guest coming back, Mr. Mike Regalado, in the building to do a podcast with us. Mike, we've officially got football season back in action, and the Bruins took on the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors yesterday. Were you at the game?
I was on the field. I was sweating like crazy. I was in the press box. I was interviewing the coaches and players afterwards. So, yeah, I was all over the place yesterday.
Man, well, we love to hear it. A good one to be at, too. I think the Bruins did some great things out there on the field. We saw some improvements to a defense that sorely needed it coming into this year with Jerry Azzinaro manning that group. A dominant run game attack and things of that nature. Let's start with the things that impressed you the most, Mike. What were some of the things that stood out to you for UCLA yesterday in their dominant 44-10 victory?
Obviously, the run game. That's you just cannot, ignore what they did, especially with Britton Brown and Zach Charbonnet and the offensive line opening up all those holes. It was just, magnificent to see. I'm still in shock about what I saw with Zach Charbonnet, just bouncing off dudes, running, for yards after contact. So that was not a surprise because we kind of saw what he could do in spring and fall camp, but to make that big of an impact was amazing. And on defense, having that swarming blitzing defense was just, we saw it last year, obviously, but it was really good at disrupting Hawaii's run. They had 26 total rush yards yesterday. That's crazy.
I saw that, and this was a unit for years that was one of the worst rush defenses within the pack. So just to have a game like that, can only build confidence going in the right direction. Obviously, they're going to be playing a completely different ball team in LSU, but I was struck at just how fast and physical this defense was. They were flying around to the football. It was a thing of beauty for Bruins fans.
Yeah, definitely. It was good for the fans to see what we've been seeing at practice. I know a lot of fans are, distant right now just because of what has happened in the last 3 years, but and you can't blame them. 10-21 in 3 years, that's not good. But this was a step in the right direction, especially since they're returning so many players on both sides of the ball. And they're just continuing what we saw last season. So that's really good. And really quickly, I also wanted to say special teams also made a huge impact in this game as well. Not just the, specialist guys with, getting blocks and pressure, but also the kickers in all three phases. I think the worst thing that happened was that Nick Barmira missed an extra point. Either way, RJ Lopez was kicking the ball into the end zone, not giving Hawaii a chance. And Luke Akers was just booting punts. 2 out of 5 were within the 20. I think his longest was, I can't remember, 60-yarder? I think he averaged 45 yards per punt. So that's – you couldn't ask for anything better than that.
The special teams did really stand out. And one of the players, he was obviously a highly touted transfer coming in, Ale Cahow. This guy got a sack. He blocked the punt too, which led to a UCLA touchdown. Mm-hmm. A lot of that stuff. They got a huge break early when the Hawaii punter actually left his right foot down on the catch from the snap, which had the Bruins inside the 20-yard line to start the game, which was huge. But I want to go back to Charbonnet because he was the story of the opening game. This guy had 3 touchdowns, Mike, 21 yards, 47 yards, and 21 yards. These are not like, squeaking it in at the goal line. He's making defenders miss or he's running right through them. This guy is a monster. He's 220 pounds, 6'1" running back. We knew a little bit about the physicality if you turn on the tape at Michigan, or maybe you saw him at Oaks Christian out in Westlake in the LA Valley. But my goodness, what a debut to have for him. It's the run game looks like it could be potentially the best we've had in years. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Oh, definitely. It's something that we've seen in the last 3 seasons, we're just one game into this one, Chip Kelly has been shifting the balance closer and closer to more run plays than pass plays. So that wasn't a secret that that's the direction that he wants to go. But to actually have everything in place now, to have his schemes work by experienced players, as well as super athletic players, because Zach Charbonnet, he had good vision. I mean, even there were a couple times where like he missed the wrong hole, and yet he still, got extra yardage. But yeah, like you said, he had 3 touchdowns on 6 carries. So basically half the time that he had the ball, he scored. But just, great vision, great, talent. And we can't, not talk about Britton Brown too, because even though he had more attempts, I think he had 78 yards, I believe. Charbonnet had 103. Britton Brown he still averaged 6 yards per carry. That's insane. So that whole running game was just, brutal. And it was over, in the first half. We didn't even get to see a full game's worth. We had some of the backups come in. And at that point, it was just, vanilla. It's like, let's just try to end this as quick as possible. And I think that is mostly because Chip Kelly does not want to show any more of his arsenal, especially with LSU coming up.
I totally agree, and we have to throw in Brown. I'm glad you did that. I was about to bring it up. No slouch of a game from him either. 78 yards on the ground, 6 yards a carry. He got in the end zone too, so I mean, he was making an impact. Him and Charbonnet combined for 184 yards and 4 touchdowns. And I mean, Charbonnet, get this, averaged 17.7 yards a carry every time he touched the ball.
Yeah, that was huge.
That is like the craziest stat I've ever heard. Running back.
Coaches want you to average 4 or 5 yards per carry. 17.7 yards. That's insane. So they have a huge weapon. I mean, nothing against Joshua Kelly or Dimitri Felton of the last 2 seasons, but my gosh, that as Wayne Cook said, thunder and thunder. You got that 1-2 punch of Britton Brown and Zach Charbonnet.
Man, so you're host of the Ska Disco. I gotta ask, if you were to put a ska either album or a specific song to the debut of Charbonnet, where are you going and why, Mike?
Just because I like to go a little bit more rhythmic, a little bass heavy, little bit darker. I like the chip on the shoulder kind of song of Guns of Brixton by The Clash.
Okay.
Yeah. Going a little different, little more punk attitude with that one. So
I love it, man. So I'm a big Clash guy. I don't know if I've particularly heard this track, but I'm gonna look this up as soon as we get off this episode. So I gotta hear it. I'm gonna turn on some Charbonnet highlights in the background and watch that song so I can get in the mood for it. A guy who kind of went a little under the radar was Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think we all had really high expectations for him coming in. First quarter, he misses an easy touchdown to Kyle Phillips in the end zone. Could have had a touchdown run. That defensive back, I'm blanking on his name, made an incredible tackle in the open field against Thompson-Robinson. Kind of figured it out, a little bit later, but it was, more about the run game. He didn't really make any flash plays. Had a very nice throw to Casimir Allen, that 44-yard touchdown. But outside of that, it was just kind of an average to below average game from DTR. What did you see from him, and do you think we can maybe get some improvement out of him moving forward?
In this game, we actually saw the 2 parts of Dorian Thompson-Robinson that have both had fans cringe and, cheer. Just some of the, miscues, misthrows, but at the same time, there were some catchable balls, and I don't think I'm not going to put this on the wide receivers, but there were some that were dropped. So it wasn't a great passing performance. But yeah, he did right the ship. And, the fact that you can score 44 points on a team, blow them out, and run over 200 yards, and have your pass game be not great, that says something. I mean, he still was orchestrating the runs, calling the plays, getting the word in from Chip Kelly. So, that can't be, understated. But as far as the pass game, it did get better. We saw that it appeared that he calmed down a little bit in the second half. And once he was comfortable, hey, cool. They were good to go. But at the same time, he was pulled. I think he had one more drive in the second half, and then he was pulled for Ethan Garbers. And then Garbers didn't even pass. So I think that is, going back to what I said earlier, that's a little bit more of Chip Kelly not wanting to show his cards, just playing as basic of a game without, taking your foot completely off the gas, without having Hawaii creep back in so that they don't show anything that could really help them against LSU next weekend.
Yeah, and it's just, I think with the talent level you see with Robinson, especially on that throw we just mentioned to Allen, it's like, boy, just let this guy loose, let him make some plays. Like, this guy's got the talent. But, if you can throw for 130 yards and still win, in dominant fashion too.
Yeah.
What's the point? I'm going with you as well. Just like, we should save some of our tricks in the bag for when we play LSU. But I got to say, I was a little disappointed. My guy, Greg Dulcich, we were so high on coming in. Only one catch for 15 yards. I think that was more just part of the passing game itself. The lead receiver was Casimir Allen, 2 catches for 47 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of those was 44 yards. And then after that was Britton Brown, 2 catches for 21 yards. So just a little things there. Hoping to see a little bit more of the passing attack against LSU because I think, if we can't generate solid passing games, it's going to be tough to beat some teams in the Pac-12 this year. I really feel that.
Yeah. But overall, just a really good overall performance. I mean, you have the defense flying around, which set the tone at the start of the game. And then, just scoring 24 points in the first quarter. That's a pretty solid statement, especially when your quarterback and receivers aren't connecting. But yeah, just, really, really impressive. This is what, I was hoping to see, what I've been seeing in practice. So this is good for it to finally come together.
Yeah, Chip is doing, big things, man. This is his first out-of-conference win as a head coach for the UCLA Bruins. We're going to wrap it up soon. I kind of want to go over a little bit about the LSU game. Mm-hmm. But before we do that, we're going to each pick 3 stars of the game from this week. Mike, I will let you start, my man. Who is your first star of the 3 stars of the game?
Oh, Charbonnet. Got to go with Charbonnet. Just an impressive performance with only 6 carries.
Yeah, he was sensational. Not a whole lot to talk more on that. I mean, he was just outstanding. I got to go with Aokea. I mean, he's a transfer coming in from Alabama. We don't know if he's going to have, any difficulties kind of blending into a new defense, new location. Did not look like it at all. He was flying around the field, sack, blocked the punt. Just looks the part of a guy that is going to be a huge part of this defense for the next couple of years. Aokea making plays. He's my first star of the game. Who do you got in second?
Yeah, I'll get him as my second star because he was a guy that, like you said, he was just flying around and he went into the backfield untouched on that punt and he got there so fast he didn't block it up here, he blocked it down here. And then to be able to, cause that loose ball which was dragged in that rolled in so that UCLA could get a touchdown off of it. That was just brilliant.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I'm going to go also with a star that may not get the credit it deserves. I think the offensive line, it's not one particular guy, but they proved that they're probably going to be the best in the run game, at least from what I've seen. Maybe in the Pac-12 as a whole. I think that's a real thing that they can do. Sean Ryan looked great. Anderson looked great, making big blocks all around there. Those running backs had like holes for days just running through the line. I do think they need to deserve some credit because they did a great, great job out there.
I was actually thinking the same thing. Yeah, you can't just pick one. And they did a good job of rotating. I think they had 8 guys rotate in and out, different positions, just because it was so hot. And, Chip Kelly said that they want to, get more, get guys in there so that it can help them out. But, yeah, to be able to open up those holes and to, Thompson Robinson didn't connect on many passes, but to be able to, allow him the time, especially for that one Casimir catch, that was just perfectly placed. And then, Casimir himself just kind of jumping into the pass. I was like, oh, hello. All right.
Yeah, man. Big things are coming. I think some other guys that, deserve a little credit. Is it Donta Jackson, the lineman that got a pick? Is that
Donta Jackson? Yeah. Yeah, when do you see a defensive lineman get a pick?
I know. It was so exciting. I'm watching on my TV. I jumped off my couch. I'm like, that's a hell of a play right there.
Yeah.
This dude also had a half a sack, too, so he was making some impacts there. Jay Shaw, the veteran, got a pick as well.
Mm-hmm.
He deserves to be kind of thrown in there. And then, just Quantrez Knight. I said this all preseason. This is a guy that reminds me of how the Seahawks used Jamal Adams. Blitz, safety, just another guy who can bring out the edge. But great against the run, great against the blitzing schemes. He looked electric out there running off the side. And maybe he didn't get a sack or, a tackle for a loss this week, but he was wreaking havoc on that defense. They had to know exactly where he was at all times for Hawaii. So Quantrez Knight definitely deserves some credit there. Any other defensive guys you think I may have missed?
Actually, there are actually a ton. I mean, the fact that they got 2 sacks, I forget who. 3 players totaled 2 sacks. Obviously, one player got 1.0 and the other 2 shared a sack, 0.5. Along those same lines, UCLA had 7 tackles for a loss amongst 9 players. So 9 players getting into the backfield and sharing, loss of yardage. That's just fantastic. And we saw that last year, so that's not a surprise. So to keep it going, and to pressure Hawaii, which took them out of their rhythm, that's the tool that they're going to need later in the season.
Sorry about that. I was stats and ESPN came up with it. But yes, 7 players I counted with 9 tackles for a loss. It was just a great game. Mike, I take it you're going to be at the LSU game next Saturday. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, and it's going to be so much cooler.
We're going to have a nice cooler day out there.
Yeah, it's the Rose Bowl is much, much nicer when the sun is not, a mile from your face. So that's going to be good. Prime time, LSU, I guess they reported that about 20,000 LSU fans are coming to the Rose Bowl. So first off, and 2, awesome, because apparently their tailgate is just amazing. I can't wait to go to, hopefully I can get out to LSU in a couple years when they finish the home and home in 2024.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Knowing what we know now, do you think UCLA can maybe make it a little closer than what we had initially thought coming into this year against a powerhouse SEC team like LSU?
Definitely. Now that I saw what I thought they could do, because at the same time, UCLA sometimes is UCLA and they kind of take a step backwards. I did not really see that. Maybe in just Thompson Robinson, but at the same time, that's, as my buddy Jake said, that's incomplete because he didn't play the entire game. What's important is he didn't have any turnovers. Sure, he didn't advance the ball on some drives, but he also didn't cough up the ball for Hawaii to make some easy scores. So that's good. He for the most part, protected the ball, which is a huge sign. That's what you want to see. But I think the passing game is going to be much better next week. And, I know LSU is going to have a really good defensive line, but how are they going to do? That's the matchup I want to see. How is the UCLA offensive line and the LSU defensive line going to match up? I think that will play a huge part, probably one of the biggest parts in deciding who's going to win.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I'm going to go with 37-28 LSU, but I think it could be potentially a lot closer. Let's say, UCLA gets an early lead. They have the run game to, milk the clock and really take it, into the red zone at all times. So I'm going 37-28, maybe a loss, but UCLA I feel a lot more confident about their chances against a team like that for sure.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is a homerism or just what I actually think will happen, especially, just taking into account what was happening with LSU too. 5-5 last season, a lot of turnover with their coaches, still have some really, skilled dudes, but they lose 2 key players. One of them, their starting quarterback. And on top of that, because of the hurricane that's happening right now in Louisiana, they had to book it. I saw on Twitter that they left Baton Rouge around 8:30 p.m. last night to go to Houston, where they're going to practice all week. That's where they're going to stay leading up to the game. it took them 10 hours for a 4-hour ride. So they're going to be a little tired too. So I think a lot of that, and then traveling again to the Rose Bowl, that might wear on them. So I think UCLA I think they're going to shock LSU. I'm going to go 35.
I love it. We're picking a UCLA upset over the Tigers. I think that's a fitting way to end this podcast. We're going to have some more stuff coming this week. LSU UCLA week. This is the biggest out of conference game for the Bruins in a long time. So make sure to tune in this week to stuff. Mike, I can't thank you enough for coming on again, buddy. Let's get you on here soon. Need all the tips for ska next time, man. That's what I'm looking for.
All the old school, start with the ska lights and then get into Trojan Records. Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong, baby. All right, Bruins, we're out. Have a good one.